Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. On today's show, full AFC and NFC Championship breakdowns. Poor Joseph Asai, man. Feel for him.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and I have tweet notifications turned on for Eli Apple.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. I just want to be the first to congratulate Chiefs Super Bowl participant Amir Smith-Marset, who gets the last laugh on all of us.
Arif Hassan, Pro Football Network, and for once, I don't have an interesting intro.
And of course, I'll find a way to bring Kirk Cousins into this conversation as well on today's Minnesota Football Party.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Pro Football Network's Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Welcome in a Monday edition of the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Those are the two Lukes, Inman and Braun, and Arif Hassan of Pro Football Network. The full panel today reacting to AFC Championship, NFC Championship. Could Kirk Cousins have hung in those games? Who's the Vikings defensive coordinator going to be? And a little bit of Senior Bowl talk to sprinkle in as well as we slowly start to pivot to the offseason, to the draft, to prospects, to draft crushes, all that good stuff. Today's show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. You can find our network and our show in so many different ways. We're on Amazon Fire and Roku, Locked On Sports Minnesota app. Specially made. You can watch us on your big screen TVs. You can find us on YouTube, on your cell phone, your laptop, Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's free to subscribe, and we're free and available wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. Let's talk AFC first, because that was a great game. It was an epic game and absolutely lived up to the hype. Bengals, Chiefs, 23-20. The Chiefs win with a hobbled Mahomes. Officiating was running rampant, taking control of the game. But I thought it was still a quality AFC title game. Knee-jerk reaction, Luke Inman.
Yeah, even with the injury going in, you just knew it's going to be tough to beat Mahomes in the championship game 2 years in a row at Arrowhead, because the dude's an alien, hobbling on one foot, no help in the run game, 34 yards on like 18 carries. He lost his top three receivers in that game. I know he turned the ball over on that one snap, but 0 interceptions, over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He almost forces you to play perfect on defense, the way he just ad-libs in and outside the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield. I thought huge credit to the Bengals defense, though. Like, they really laid out this kind of blueprint on how to slow him down the last 3 games they played him. A lot of dropping 8 in coverage, being really smart how to rush him, keep him inside the pocket. But I watched that game unfold, and kind of in a weird way, when you look at the previous 3 games and then this game last night, it almost felt like the fact they knew he was hobbled kind of changed their game plan just a pinch, and they started to try to get after him with 4 more, even blitz him more, because they knew he had to stay in the pocket. And instead, it just seemed like Mahomes was able to chew up a lot of yards on like checkdowns, do just enough in the pocket to kind of slide away from some pressure and find guys downfield. So in a weird way, it kind of felt like the fact everyone knew Mahomes wasn't the same guy with his legs almost hurt the Bengals defense, at least in comparison to how they stopped them the previous 3 matchups. But in the end too, like, I know a lot was made about the officiating, the flags, the penalties, but Chiefs had more yards, more passing yards, more first downs, more yards per play, gave up less sacks, won the time of possessions, didn't have as many turnovers. So not really a huge shock. They were the team that found a way to win. I will say the pass rush, I think, ended up being the big difference in this game too. Like, Mahomes found a way just to avoid enough pressure, just enough times where Burrow, man, right from the get-go, under duress all game long, didn't have that same kind of escapability we're used to seeing him. And I think as well as that Bengals offensive line, those backups played last week versus the Bills, I think they kind of came back down to earth this game, a little bit exposed from just a sheer talent perspective versus guys like Chris Jones and company, who was just absolutely dominant last night.
Yeah. People like to praise Bieniemy and that Chiefs offense, but how about Spags? 4 years, like he hangs around. They've just got their coordinators locked up, and that defense is playing a million rookies, and Spags just finds a way to make it work. Arif, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the thing is, Joe Burrow might be the second best quarterback in the NFL. That could be true. Personally, I think it's Josh Allen, but, it's close, whatever. You can have your argument. The thing is, Patrick Mahomes is not just the number one quarterback in the NFL. There's a distance between 1 and 2, right? This isn't Manning Brady, right? Like this is absolutely wild how good Mahomes is. And the thing that makes him so good translates to every facet of his play, right? Because, we're used to seeing Mahomes, break the pocket, scramble, extend plays, and some of his most exciting plays come in those moments. But before he ever got injured, he was the best in structure, in pocket quarterback in the NFL. If you only take a look at every quarterback inside the pocket, inside the timing of the play, he was number one with a bullet, with a significant distance between 1 and 2. That's what happened in this game, right? Like, the injury, I think, is a really significant part of the storyline here. I think it is extraordinary what he was able to do. The fact that he gutted it out for that final scramble to get that run in on that injured ankle, I think is extraordinary. I think that's fantastic. But I think this kind of reinforces, not because he won, right? Because I'm not a quarterback wins guy, but the way that he played, it reinforces the kind of player that he is and how much further away from the rest of the crowd he happens to be. The fact that Spagnuolo did a phenomenal job with that rookie group, which, by the way, got rookier over the course of the game because Joshua Williams, ended up having to play. That is like really exciting. The cornerback class this year from the draft has been, maybe it's the best cornerback class I've ever seen. It has to be, right? There's no way. Like, this is like the 2020 receiver class, just at corner. It is remarkable how good these guys are.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs have 3 of them. So it's pretty cool kind of seeing how this all plays out. Offensive line talent matters, receiver talent matters, cornerback talent matters. We saw all of that play out, but more than anything else, we saw that quarterback talent matters.
A Patrick Mahomes could retire Monday after the Super Bowl. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I think so.
Without a doubt?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah,
he's good.
2 rings and being the best quarterback in the league for like literally the whole time he was a
starter.
Right. Like, what else?
He's an alien, you guys.
But that's what I was gonna say. Like, it feels like he's in year 12 with nothing left to prove, just like notching extra stuff. Like,
I'm so glad he won.
Gotta have an injury game.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. I just wonder, who's Patrick Mahomes without Andy Reid? I'm just so glad for us fans of the game, of the NFL, that he hooked up with Andy Reid. Not to say that he wouldn't have been successful somewhere else, but knowing Andy Reid, his background, his passion to develop quarterbacks like that, just the perfect marriage when you look back to the start of all this too. And remember, some people thought he was a reach when they moved up and grabbed him with 12th, 13th overall pick, something like that.
I did.
Yeah, no, a lot of people did. That was the big discussion. So I'm just so glad that he ended up hooking up with Andy Reid, because who knows where we'd be.
Yeah,
Ron,
it's amazing.
What else you got?
That he's in his 5th year as a starter in the league, and he has nothing left to prove. Like, that's insane.
It's so cool. Yeah, I'm
like to have an injury game now. Like, let's add that to the legacy, and now he gets to go
hit the bingo card. What do we got left on the bingo card here?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Really
it's
glad
fine.
That he was able to get that ring out of the way early, so we didn't have to have a tiring discussion about rings.
Right.
I'm so glad he got that.
Can't win the big one though.
Exactly. He's got the monkey off his back right away. And Luke, to your point, I think that having him with Andy Reid has just been such a treat for us fans. Certainly I think that there's a really good chance he would be the best quarterback in the NFL without Andy Reid. I don't know, maybe not. I'm glad we don't have to wonder. I'm glad we just know that he is, right? And I'm also glad that, clearly Andy Reid is the one to maximize this guy, right? We've seen Andy Reid maximize a number of quarterbacks. We know that he is a good coach. This isn't like a Belichick Brady, like is Belichick good without? We know Andy Reid's good without Patrick Mahomes. And now we know they're both good, incredible together, right? So it's been, like you mentioned, a treat.
Yeah, there's I feel like it's true to some degree with every quarterback and every coach. Like, if you didn't land in the situation you landed in, would you not have developed? Like, if you took Patrick Mahomes' start and turned it into like the start that Justin Fields has had to his career, where he had to start right away, didn't have any help anywhere, didn't have any, like, does he develop the same? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't, but maybe he also just overcomes that better, and he does anyways. But yeah, like Arif said, I'm like glad we don't have to. And what's cool about the Chiefs being the new like class of the AFC is that they're so much fun that it's going to be really hard to get bored of them.
Right.
Yeah,
like Chiefs in the Super Bowl every year. Yep, that's fine with me.
Fine. Yeah, they're gonna do pirouettes. They're gonna pull some plays from Michigan in 1947.
Absolutely.
Let's
get weird.
Yeah, like when other teams get weird, you end up with like the Patriots play where Mac Jones gets crumbled, or the Dallas play, or the Colts play. The thing is, I don't even have to like outline what happened on these plays. We all know. They're awful. They're awful plays that pretend to be
one
creative.
Justin Jefferson pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey and the Wildcat dropping back, trying to find a guy deep downfield.
Yeah,
that was born of necessity, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't Kyle Shanahan getting in his bag. But Andy Reid getting in his bag is just fun. It's fun football that works.
Yeah, we get hook and ladders on the second drive of the game.
Yeah,
like
that was terribly executed,
right
and you're
there.
like, oh well, they tried.
Right there.
In the world.
Andy
Lob
Reid
that up.
rolling the dice.
Well, it was terribly executed and got a first down. Like their mistake got a first, and now it's on film, right?
Now it's on film. Film. Right.
Now you're going to have a linebacker just like chilling with the running back behind a runner, like not actively pursuing the runner, or is that what we're going to punish people for now?
Right. Yeah. Well, how about like 2 drives later when Kels caught the ball, same spot, same distance, and Gray,
he was gonna
Gray right there this time, and it was almost like he thought about it, and I'm like, no, I ruined it. I can't do it. Can't go over 2.
Well, it worked because it moved the defense, and he got some space to run.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Andy Reid, unbelievable.
Let's bring this back to the Vikings now. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes is not of this planet. Probably naive to think you can just go find that guy. All right, so Arif, you said it. Big gap between 1 and 2. Maybe Joe Burrow's number 2. So what is the gap between Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins? And is it realistic to think that Kirk Cousins could hang in a game like that? Because ultimately, that's what this is all about. Can Kirk win the big game? We have really no evidence to suggest that. How big is the gap between Kirk and a Burrow? Braun or Reef?
I was just gonna say Kirk might have been able to hang in that NFC game. It is possible. I kind of doubt it because a lot of the Eagles' opportunities were born of the fact that Jalen Hurts was a running threat, and he himself did not run a ton or effectively outside of the one drive. But you could very clearly see how the defense was moved by his running threat, enabling Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell and all of them to run. So it is possible, but I don't know that game gives us evidence one way or the other. The fact that they had Josh Johnson, I think, is the reason why, right? But the Chiefs, no. I don't think Kirk Cousins would have hung as a member of the Cincinnati Bengals at quarterback, especially with that offensive line the way that Joe Burrow did.
Yeah, he's taken just as many sacks, I think.
He's taken more. Right. Joe Burrow didn't take...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Joe Burrow didn't take a sack in the entire second half, minus at the 41-second mark of the fourth quarter. A pretty significant sack to take.
It's Joe Burrow, who's famously good at avoiding sacks.
Yeah, he's incredible at it.
Yeah. No, I think the most curious one to me is if you put Kirk on the 49ers there, I think they make a game out of that.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of talent around. And it was very clear with the problem the 49ers were dealing with. I don't know if the 49ers win that game if they get better quarterback play because of the way that the Eagles were working on offense. They were dominating so hard in the trenches. It's difficult for me to see, like, you still got to solve that problem too,
Yeah, you got to figure out the Hassan Reddick issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blocking him.
Like on both sides of the ball. And like all the running game stuff you mentioned. But yeah, if you put Kirk Cousins on the 49ers, I think that's definitely you're not walking away from that game going, Kirk Cousins just can't hack it,
I feel like he probably, I think it's an open question. I think that's the best chance out of all 4 of these teams that if he's on the 49ers, he probably wins. I don't know. He can throw it further than 10 yards. We have evidence of that. So
We have a lot of evidence of that.
I'm just saying, the last time we saw a quarterback saga like the one the 49ers face, it was the Vikings in 2017. And what did they do? They went and got Kirk Cousins. They said, we don't want any of you.
Yeah.
We're just going to go get Kirk. Shanahan loves Kirk.
I almost expected Josh Johnson to be better than Brock Purdy. Like they were establishing a pattern of each successive quarterback getting better.
Yep. Exactly. And
Jimmy Garoppolo, free agent now.
That wasn't the case. I'm excited to watch the 49ers offseason. Let's dig a little more into Niners-Eagles after I tell you about FanDuel. It's a big time of year for FanDuel. It's the only app you need at your Super Bowl party, America's #1 sports book. And they're the new partner with Locked On, the #1 sportsbook in America. Download the app now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. Get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel allows you to bet money lines, point spreads, and all those juicy prop bets for Super Bowl 57. Can't wait to put those into a parlay before the next Super Bowl because all the parlays are going so well on this show. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and easy to use. You get your winnings instantly after you hit that 6-leg parlay. Join FanDuel today, FanDuel.com/locked-on. Claim the no-sweat first bet for Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Eagles 49ers, massive disappointment to me because I thought that was going to be a sweet game, and it almost turned into 38-7. I was actually rooting for 38-7.
2 in a row.
A second 38-7?
A second 38-7, so another
The Eagles will not rest until they have 38-7 to every team in the NFC.
That would have ruled because I think any Eagles fan would start printing out 38-7 shirts just because that becomes their identity, right?
For sure.
Which is fantastic.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I endorse it. As like having watched the first victimization of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
As speaking for all Vikings fans, we as Vikings fans endorse this.
Let's distribute the 38-7 pain, please.
I was having some PTSD actually around that. So I don't know if I've regaled this group as a whole with my stories of the NFC Championship. I probably have told you all like independently at some point, but I'll give you the TLDR.
No, give us the whole story.
So I flew in on a budget, working for zone coverage, Arif, to save money, flew into DC morning of game, took a train to the stadium, right? So already kind of running on fumes. Covered that game, and what a game it was, and it sucked to write about. People were unhappy. Nobody wanted to read the content. Had to try to find a way to put a bow on the season with that disaster. Right. So and that was the late game. So worked well past midnight on post-game work. Then had the challenge of finding my way out of the stadium. And Arif, you've covered a lot of road games. It is very unintuitive sometimes how the heck you get out. So I am alone.
The Saints Stadium, by the way, is pretty bad for that.
The Saints, you
really?
said?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
SoFi is awful for that. If you've ever been to SoFi, it is a maze.
Entering and exiting these places is impossible. It's not like the media entrance is never clearly labeled. Anyway, getting in the weeds. So I'm wandering around the link, and it's like 1 a.m. So I run into a locked gate.
It turns out I've been in jail the whole time.
It felt that way. I was a prisoner.
It'll happen in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I'm looking around. I am saved by an intoxicated member of the Eagles front office or a family member of a front office member who was partying on the field. They were like on the field hanging out till the wee hours. And the guy happened.
Oh my God! You win the NFC Championship and you just go rage on the field.
We were watching them from the press box. We were watching it happen. I ran into one of those guys in the bowels of the stadium. And he had a key. He's like, I've got the key to this gate. And he let me out.
What? I am the gatekeeper, literally.
So from there.
Wow.
Hey, man, what you need? I got a key.
What you need, man? You need a key?
So, yeah, like guardian
Biscuit?
angel situation. So then I'm like, all right, this is going well for me. So I get out, and I've never like been able like to taste alcohol in the air like I did at that point,
Oh my
like going
gosh.
through the tailgating lots. And true to form, at this hour, this is like approaching bar close. Nobody was obeying traffic laws. Nobody was obeying traffic lights, stop signs. I was afraid to cross the street because it was not a safe place to be.
The purge.
Well, of all the things to taste in the air, given the things that Philadelphians were famously tasting at the time, I think you got
true.
away with one there.
Yeah, true.
Interesting take on that. I didn't think of it that way. I was hoping for cheesesteak smell in the air.
We can't.
They were
beat
not
that.
gourmands that night. Let me tell you that.
That's gosh. Arif and I can't beat that, but we were down at the Senior Bowl. We started at Veets. We watched the first half there. We went up 7-0. We were going nuts. We were watching it with Charles McDonald, Yahoo Sports, SB Nation, and he was just enamored because we were so excited. And he's a Falcons fan, so he's been through the ringer. Like, he's got no heart left, no soul. He's got
And that
no
was the
emotion
year
left.
after 28-3.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, you guys are really excited. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is our team. So then we go back to the Airbnb and watch the second half there. Obviously, everything implodes.
By the way, it was like a mess because that TV was just not set up.
It was horrible. Yeah, it was garbage. One of those games and moments where it's just like, where were you? I'll always remember where I was, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was hanging out with Luke. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. There's actually like 3 more legs to my harrowing tale. I'm taking too long already, but basically got lost downtown trying to find the bus stop to get a bus back to
No
DC.
way were the buses running. Oh, to DC. Oh,
To
my
DC.
God.
Wow.
'Cause I had to get back to DC. I got lost downtown. Very terrifying. I got my flight to Chicago to connect. Got stranded in Chicago until 9
God.
p.m. the following day because there was a snowstorm. So I didn't sleep for probably a good 35, 40 hours after covering that game.
And of course, Tom Schreier's expecting you to pump out content after content and article after article and interview after interview, and you're going on fumes and no sleep, all to save a buck on the corporate card.
On the corporate card, on the black card.
All to save a buck.
Did you end up making the final locker room interviews for the
No,
season?
everyone missed it. Everyone was either stranded in Philadelphia or a connecting city.
Wow.
That's great because I could have gone and I didn't.
You would have had exclusive content.
It would have been like B-Rob, 96 questions. It's just a reef.
Yeah.
The guy in here.
Hey, so losing pretty much sucks, right? Hey, so they're going to be playing in your stadium.
Right.
The Super Bowl.
How's that feel?
What's that feel like? That's pretty cool, huh?
As embittered as fans are toward Eagles fans here, I love the home crowd title game. Like, I love them getting to witness the trophy ceremony and Terry Bradshaw asking inane questions. Like, if they took away the home conference championship, I would be so disenchanted.
Oh, if they did the neutral site thing?
The neutral site is
if they implemented that
as
as like, I'm so worried that this, especially if it had actually gone through and it had been executed well. So like, sorry, Bills, but thank you. But if it had been executed well, the worry is that the NFL would want neutral site championship games, which sucks. I hate it. I totally agree with you, Sam, that having the unique home atmosphere of every particular stadium is so nice, especially because like we've been to a couple of games now, right? The environment at the Chiefs is way different than the environment at the Eagles, way different than the environment at the Giants, way different than the environment in Seattle. Like some of these really like famous like home field places, and they all have their own distinct energy and feel and crowd. And I would hate to take that away, especially in a championship game environment.
I knew about Bills Chiefs possibility, but was that a discussion for the future that they would think about implementing something like that?
According to
forward? What?
Just Florio, right?
it has been leaked, and when
I
it
would
gets
hate
leaked, I feel like it usually comes to fruition at some point, because think about Super Bowl week, how these cities activate. They've got week-long activities. They've got stuff for fans to come out and spend money. It's not just one day of revenue, it's a week of revenue. And I could see the league licking its lips saying, oh, we got 2 more games where we can get the cities
generate revenue.
up,
It's all money.
generate revenue.
Yeah,
We'll
that really
fill the
waters
stadium.
down. That really waters down the number 1 seed. The value of having the number 1 seed, the home field throughout. Right? I mean, what do you do there?
And winning your division has already been watered down. If you water down the last remaining advantage, I shouldn't say last remaining advantage. You'd still get the bye, but who knows when they expand that too. But the way that they just have removed a lot of incentives for winning the division, it robs, I think, a lot of joy out of the game. It's annoying that which again, they're profit maximizing entities. These are things that do increase profits, but it really makes the experience as a fan feel less interesting.
Yeah, you feel robbed a little bit. So you'd think or assume that they would have to compensate that number 1 seed or the higher seed somehow, because it's like, well, I'm getting robbed of my home field that I worked all year for. You know what I mean? I don't know. How
they never compensated the second seed for forcing them into another game.
No.
I think the bye week's going away. I think they're going to add an 18th game. They're going to add an eighth playoffs. Right? They're not going to stick on a prime number forever. It's going to be 18. 8 playoff teams, and they have to win 4 games. There's going to be no bye week. So there's
so cool
league.
When Kirk Cousins, as the 8th seed, upsets the 1-seeded Lions as they finally get good.
Oh my god! Oh,
the Lions are going to be favored to win the NFC North. I think that's actually
with no Rodgers. If Rodgers is gone. That's plausible for sure.
I mean, it sounds like the Packers are genuinely exploring a trade and want to trade him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I would put Rodgers not being in Green Bay close to 50%, which seems like a lot right now. And then I would also put the Lions as likely the favorite by more than 50% chance too. I think all 3 of those teams, though, will be grouped pretty tightly, though. If Lions
like a
are
minus 110, minus 130 kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly. If minus 110, then Packers and Vikes are even money or plus 110, something like that. But you're right.
Off enough, but
yeah, without a doubt. I've got a Senior Bowl 4-minute drill for you, but first, Built Bar. We're almost through the first month of the new year. Hopefully, you're keeping your New Year's resolutions, and hopefully that means you've been loading up on Built Bars because you're not compromising taste, and they are so healthy with great macros and great flavors like peanut butter brownie, coconut almond brownie batter, churro, cookies and cream. So many different flavors and so many different ways to find these nutritious, delicious Built Bars. Online, built.com. But why wait when you can go in store? You could get in the car. You could listen to this podcast in the car. Go to Walmart, get a 4-bar box. Go to Sam's Club, get a 13-bar box. And you can thank me later. You can go load up on Built Bars today and continue fueling your body with these delicious, nutritious Built Bars. Also available, built.com, with the promo code LOCKEDON15. Time now.
Start the clock. It's time to execute the 4-minute drill.
Inman brought up Senior Bowl week, so we should talk a little Senior Bowl. I want one player. I want one player out of the 100 and some odd players that are in Mobile, or is it Mobile? Are you guys Mobile or Mobile guys?
I think it's Mobile.
Okay, thank you. Mobile. I want one player you want in the Vikings. Who's your Senior Bowl crush? Let's go with the authority on this, Inman.
Well, Sam, you and we brought up 5 small school guys I really liked last week on the football party. One of them being Appalachian State linebacker Nick Hampton. Probably a guy you don't need to spend like a top 3 round pick on, but all the traits to develop and target on a day 3, 4th, 5th round kind of guy. Made Bruce Feldman's freak list because of the strength. Sumo squat 600 pounds, incline presses 315, vertical for a linebacker outstanding 39, 40 inches. Maybe most impressive, the arm length 34 inches, wingspan is 81 inches, both in the 90th percentile, though, for his position. And he's fast, too. He hit 21 miles per hour on the GPS. His flying 10-yard split was 1.20. So I just can't wait to see what he measures in at tomorrow morning before day 1 of practice, because I think a lot of people are going to be impressed with the raw traits you can mold. And I just think about adding another athletic freak next to Brian Asamoah for the next 4 or 5 years. Makes you feel a lot better about just adding some real speed and youth to the linebacker room.
Mm-hmm. How about Hassan?
People don't usually talk about me with my last name. Yeah, I mean, so there's a number of, like, this is a really talented group at the Senior Bowl. The offensive line group is probably one of the best Senior Bowl offensive line groups in a long time. I do like the edge group, and I think that we should take a look at that cornerback group, Anthony Johnson in particular. But if I'm picking one guy, I'm going to that offensive line group, John Michael Schmitz. How could I not?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How could I not go for the top center in the draft, who's also a Minnesota Gopher, who's also at a position of need, one that implicated, the outcome for a lot of Vikings games this year, especially late in the season, how that offensive line continued to regress, develop, I don't know, continue to, hurt the team as time went on. So the Vikings have a great pair of tackles. They've got a functionally pretty good guard in Ezra Cleveland. Garrett Bradbury's hitting free agency. It sounds like everybody wants to give Ed Ingram a chance as a second-year player. Let's get John Michael Schmitz in there.
I really like that. Maybe trading back into the top of round 2, adding some extra picks, and then grab a guy like that. Kind of the dream
absolutely.
scenario, I feel like. Yeah, definitely. Glad you brought him up.
Braun.
Arif took the only draft prospect I know, and that's because you told me about him on this show like 2 weeks ago. I usually don't get into this until after the combine, but I will say Devin Witherspoon. He's supposed to be like the number 1 corner, right? And he's going to be at the Senior Bowl.
The Illinois guy, right?
He dropped out because he is so highly
Oh.
rated. Yeah, he's not going to be there. He was by far and away not just the best corner, probably the best talent. Could be the first corner off the board.
So he's not a Viking. He's not a Viking prospect, realistically.
I don't think so. Although it's so early,
it's a long process.
So
that's
early.
what my kind of
know.
point was going to be. That like he looks like he's good, the kind of guy that goes in the top half of the round. But then I don't know. You do something weird at the Senior Bowl. You don't wear gloves at your pro day, kind of deal.
Totally. And this group of corners is so deep. Maybe the strength of the class. It's kind of pick your flavor for any team. Any GM could fall in love with one of the other top guys. Christian Gonzalez, maybe a more longer athletic guy from Oregon.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
he probably won't be there at 23, but you never know. But who knows?
I'll go with
Go ahead,
Gonzalez. Then I'll just steal Luke's idea.
There you go. Good job, Luke. Thanks, Luke.
Feldman freak Keon White. He's an old prospect. He's not like young and unmolded. He's 24, I think, but devastating player for Old Dominion in 2019. Transferred
ODU.
eventually. What?
Sorry, ODU. Old Dominion.
ODU. What's their nickname?
I don't know. Ask Heineke. Monarchs. They're the Monarchs.
Intimidating.
In the Colonial Athletic Association.
Heineke.
Oh my gosh.
I'm seeing Old Dominion University Big Blue. Is that like a secondary nickname? Why am I seeing that?
Well, I'm on the football team's Wikipedia page and it says Monarchs. So I'm just
I believe you then. Keon White is one of those versatile inside-outside guys. Apparently, he can run like 21 miles an hour, and he's 290, and he jumps really high, and he can lift a lot of weight. And he was an absolute game changer for Georgia Tech last year. 7.5 sacks, pretty good for a guy that lines up a lot inside. Vikings need defensive line depth, and they might lose Dalvin Tomlinson. So I am
21 at 290.
That's alien.
What the heck? That's insane.
That's wild. Yeah, go check out that Bruce Feldman freak list. It's always just
fantastic.
fun to see.
I love it.
It's fantastic. If you want just the biggest guy in Mobile, Buckeyes, they have one of the top tackles out there in Paris Johnson.
Oh, the guy with
Jr.
like the 89. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
The other guy,
DeJuan Johnson. Yeah,
he measured in with an 89-inch wingspan last night. Maybe the wildest thing I've ever heard in my life.
The largest wingspan in Senior Bowl history, by the way.
Yeah, insane. Dude's like 6'8", 315. He'll weigh in tomorrow. I mean, that's going to be a show in itself, but that's the equivalent of like a normal wingspan for a person 7'4".
Isn't wingspan correlated to height? Like if your wingspan is more than your height, then it's above average. Is that
it's
correct?
Close? It's very close. That is a good rough estimate. Your wingspan will generally be a little bit longer than your height, but it's really close.
Yeah. Okay. So Paris Johnson Jr., one of the top tackles, probably top 15, top 20, but DeJuan Jones's teammate, maybe not as highly regarded, but the bigger, more physical freak that, again, during weigh-ins tomorrow morning before practice is going to be very interesting to see what he measures in at.
And Luke talks a lot more draft on our Tuesday edition of the Minnesota Football Party, where Luke really takes the reins, dives in. I know he'll have a lot of great content there. And you can hear Luke this week on Locked On NFL Draft. Luke filling in for someone on vacation. So check him out there. Parlays did not go well. Let's just review, just so we can kind of commiserate here. So, Braun, you had A.J. Brown TD and Joe Mixon TD. Did either come true?
No, I'm so mad. They were in the red zone so much.
All right, so you went 0 for 2 on your two legs. Inman, Jalen Hurts over 48 rush yards and over 8.5 carries. So you covered on the carries. You needed 10 or 9 more yards.
Yeah, and when you just
that covering on the carries and not the yards, rough,
ridiculous. And when you look at the box score, you say, "Oh, Eagles scored 31 points." You'd think, "All right, normal day, Hurts is going to have 60, 65, 70 rushing yards." No, not yesterday. And a lot of those carries too. I mean, 2-3 attempts down at the goal line, trying to sneak in from the 2 or 1 yard line. He really, up until the fourth quarter, didn't have maybe even double digits. I mean, they held him in check for most of the day.
Mm-hmm. All came on one drive for sure.
Yeah.
Arif, you had McKinnon TD and Ayuk 3.5 receptions over. Don't think either of those hit.
Man, I thought the Ayuk 3.5 receptions was like a misprint. I thought it was so obvious and easy that he was going to get 3.5 receptions, and then Hassan Reddick has the temerity to injure the quarterback.
How dare he?
How dare he? Yeah, that was rough. I mean, the McKinnon TD, I should have anticipated the Bengals defense had, done a pretty good job over the past 2 years of locking up the Chiefs, and that the touchdowns have come at a premium, and that McKinnon was probably not the first. I understand that. The Ayuk thing, that burns me, man.
Yeah, Pacheco seems to get way more work than McKinnon.
Well, he got way more
good.
work in this game, but McKinnon has out-touched Pacheco.
Yeah, passing game,
McKinnon's
McKinnon's been a huge X factor for them.
He scored like 7 of his last 8 games. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I had the very likely parlay of Kittle, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, and Noah Gray scoring touchdowns, and I got 1 out of 4.
Yay!
But it wasn't that likely to begin with.
So collectively, in the past 2 weeks, as a group, we've gone 1 for 8.
That is correct.
Sure.
Luke Inman, the lone winner.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got 1 week left. Did we think of a loser punishment? Should we go to the polls? Should we go to the comments, see what people are posting?
Comment down below. How should we be punished for losing? Right now it's a 3-way tie is the problem. Like, if we all just lose
gotta
again.
hit one.
Yeah. So maybe it's a winner punishment. Maybe it's a winner reward.
Yeah. That makes way more sense to me. Yeah, I know Luke doesn't mind.
I don't hate it. I'll allow it.
Your reward is you have to do a combine in the snow.
And
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
This is a great opportunity to air your grievances, a little Festivus about the AFC Championship game officiating, which we haven't talked about a lot. If you have something else, that's fine too. But I'm just opening the floor if you want to have your gripes out now.
I'll take this because I don't think it's going to take away from anyone's particular officiating gripe, because my gripe is about how people reacted to the officiating, right? I'm not saying the officiating was good. It wasn't. I'm not saying it didn't favor the Chiefs. It very well might have. My issue is with the way people interpreted every single call on the field as if it was evidence of bias one way or the other. Like, they couldn't remove themselves from the fact that we had been talking about the Chiefs being favored by the refs the entire game, even though, in my opinion, it was relatively marginal compared to the amount of discourse about it, especially with the phantom 5th down, or whatever people want to call it. That play was going to be called back no matter what, because the clock had stopped. You can't get around that. That was going to get called back regardless. Whether or not the Chiefs had converted on that 3rd down or not, they were going to replay that 3rd down on 3rd and 9. And the Bengals benefited from it anyway by getting a sack. Like it's not that big a deal. People talking about this.
Now there's a penalty on the sack, though.
Well, yeah,
that.
Which was earned.
Which was another kind of ticky-tack.
No, I don't
light call, but I think it was.
I don't even think that
true.
was ticky-tack. I think that was correct. Because that was on who's number 11? Is it Juju? No, Juju was already
Eli
injured
Apple.
at that point. No, I know it was on Eli Apple. The receiver.
Valdez-Scantling would be 11.
It was Valdez-Scantling. Yeah. He was clearly impeded by it. Like that's the issue, right? And then but people were taking the fact that there was an extra down as if, that holding penalty was also further evidence that, and that's the correct call, that holding call, just like it was the correct call, unfortunately for Joseph Osai, when there was the unnecessary roughness out of bounds. Just like it actually makes sense not to call the holding penalties in either BJ Hill or Trey Hendrickson on that very same play. All of those are, I'm not even going to say the BJ Hill one's borderline. You're just not going to get that call. But the Trey Hendrickson one is kind of borderline. I see why it didn't get called, especially as people want the for some reason, the end of the game to be officiated a little bit looser. Well, there's that. There you go. But like the way people are talking about this as if it's this grand conspiracy to get the Chiefs of all teams back into the Super Bowl, like why would the NFL care more about the Chiefs, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. The officiating might have been bad. There's a lot of ways to detail it, but the way people talk about it is frankly ridiculous.
I'm actually with you 100%. 100%. I think that people blow stuff out of proportion tremendously when there are a high number of flags thrown. But I have a hard time saying that a lot of them shouldn't have been thrown.
Yeah,
right?
should they not have thrown some of these flags?
The Niners penalties, it felt like there was 4 drives on one penalty, and you go back, you watch just each play by itself, and you're like, what are you not going to call that? Like,
yeah, people are like, ref ball, and it's like, don't commit penalties,
right.
Ref ball.
Right.
Come on. Again, I don't think the officiating was very good in the AFC Championship game. I think the officiating was fine in the NFC Championship game, but it was like very easy to see all the flags and complain about it. I don't think the officiating was good. I think the discussion about it was worse.
That Niners drive reminded me of the Lions defensive backs against Adam Thielen week 4. Every play, I'm just going to hold you. And they can't call a flag on every play, can they?
Yeah, like the old Seattle try.
What was the one that steamed Shanahan? Shanahan was in a guy's face. I'm trying to remember why.
I don't know. Here's what.
I remember. It was roughing the punter because the guy got pushed.
Because it should have been running into the kicker, right?
Yeah, he got pushed.
And it should not have been roughing. And
should it have been anything because he got pushed?
Okay, no, you're right. Yeah, it shouldn't have been anything. But if any, like it wasn't even if he wasn't pushed, it should have been roughing the punter. It should have been running into the kicker.
I don't know how he didn't block it. Like
I don't know
so
either.
Much pressure that if he blocks it, then it's a moot point because then you're allowed to kind of hit the punter. But
how about, hey, can we get a replay on the punt that hit the rope? That hit the
oh my god!
Show the sky cam.
If the sky cam shakes, that's pretty good evidence, right?
Well, plus didn't the rotation of the ball on the all-22 replay clearly start to change halfway through too?
Yeah,
replay though.
So,
give me a replay.
So how about here's a party foul? How about this? Fox for not replaying anything that was worth replaying on these penalty questions. We got one replay of the punt, by the way. And there should have been multiple, including from the sky cam, which would have been shaking. And hey, if you don't have access to the sky cam footage, maybe that's evidence too. Maybe a ball hit it. I don't know.
Right.
But like,
right.
like that feels like relevant. Or I guess this was a CBS, right? It was with Kadarius Toney, the replay on the catch. They didn't get the replay on the catch, but like Fox in particular was not replaying stuff.
CBS
was the Devontae Smith catch.
Yeah,
it's the like replay booth couldn't do what they needed to do,
especially with the quick reviews.
It was like the second catch of the game. Come on.
I thought CBS was very slow to show a replay of the extra down situation. It took them like 4 plays after to clear that up and to actually show a ref
coming out of the all-22
to like figure out where the angle was.
Yeah. Right.
That's
CBS,
the one
that did a poor job, but Fox did an awful job.
Fox is always garbage. I love Greg Olson, by the way.
Oh my god,
no bag on Greg. Greg's outstanding.
Yeah, and he explained some of the newer concepts in football.
Oh, I love it.
4th down tries and stuff like that, and why you'd want to do it
on a screen pass. The railroad tracks, you're supposed to stay in between the railroad tracks, right? Yeah. Just a lot of small nuances and verbiage.
And he explains them in such approachable, understandable ways.
Yes.
The extra down thing bugged me the most about this not because of the fact that they replayed the down. That's what you have to do in that situation. How do you not get the clock going? Oh my God, it's the AFC Championship. Do the clock right.
It was like at 10:16 the entire time as they're switching out on the fourth down, and like everybody's like, the clock has just stopped, man.
It's the last game of the season. Like, get it together. That's what has bugged me so much this year. Like, missed calls are going to happen in every sport. Refereeing is impossible. Stuff's going to get missed. We're going to get mad about it. It's just part of it.
Yeah, at least it's not the NBA,
factor of luck. Right? Yeah, yeah. It's a factor of luck who gets the wrong end of that stuff. There's not a conspiracy against your team. But the operational stuff, like the chains broke in the NFC Championship game. That's the second time this playoffs that chains have broke. How does that keep happening? How do you not get the clock set up right? How do you not get the ready for play set up right? How do you not get the ball set in time? Like the Terry McLaurin one earlier in the season when they didn't tell him right that he was on the line of scrimmage.
Right.
That is the easiest stuff in the world. College students can do this. I know because I did this as a college student. It's so easy. I was hungover as hell and it was easy. Get it together. Run the game. Holy Christ.
Joseph Asai not only did what he did, it looked like he got hurt really badly. I don't know if there's been.
He did. He mentioned.
I don't know if there's been a report on that. It looked
they asked him after the game. He said he did get hurt.
Like, and not just like a bump and like that looked bad. What a terrible moment. And honestly, I would have preferred the great entertaining game, fascinating finish. Would have loved to see overtime, right? Like I was rooting for a missed field goal, or I wanted to see time back on the clock and see those two quarterbacks go down the field. I think that would have been preferable to what occurred.
I have two thoughts on this. One, how good a teammate is BJ Hill? Did you see that interview?
Yeah.
Oh, outstanding.
Where BJ Hill would, and I don't fault the reporters at all, by the way, but from BJ Hill's perspective, I think he did the right thing. Where BJ Hill intervenes in the interview, mostly just to support Osai and to say, hey, don't ask that. That's a dumb question. I don't think that it is, but mostly to protect his teammate and say that he's got his back and that he's always going to be there for him. I thought that was really extraordinary, fantastic. Second thing, I don't think we're talking enough about how much of a redemption game this was for the Chiefs special teams. I tweeted out that the thing that did not make sense in terms of the advantages, disadvantages that somebody had posted on Twitter was that the Chiefs had a special teams advantage. It still doesn't make sense. The Chiefs entered the game having the worst EPA on special teams in the NFL, minus 55 points total on special teams this year, right? So the Chiefs did not have an advantage on special teams. The reason that's true is Harrison Butker, which, mind you, this is probably because of injury, but Harrison Butker was 75% on field goals, ranked 31st in the NFL among qualifying kickers. There's only 33 of those, right? Because two kickers qualified from the same team one year. 31st in the NFL in field goal percentage. Sky Moore has 3 fumbles on punt returns, and in addition to that, 3 more muffed punts, right?
Yeah.
They
lost his job.
Took him off
for a little bit.
For Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney was the punt returner, right? He's injured. Sky Moore has to go back in as the punt returner and has the best punt return of his life, right? In the biggest moment to get a 29-yard punt return to set them up. And then Harrison Butker nails every single kick he attempts in this game for 11 points, right? Phenomenal redemption. Tommy Townsend was probably the only member of the Chiefs special teams unit that's been good all year. Did not have the world's best game, but certainly did not have the world's worst game. 3 punts inside the 20, no touchbacks. And put in punting in weird situations that Andy Reid should not have had him punt. Like that last punt. Really glad that he nailed him on the 6 or something like that. But man, great performance by a special teams unit that has been struggling all year due to largely the performance of some individual players that have not been playing well. And on kickoff coverage, they've been bad all year. They had great kickoff coverage in this game. So those are my 2 thoughts. 1, props to BJ Hill. 2, props to Sky Moore.
Yeah.
No good
No
call.
block in the back either, right?
Well, that should have been called. But that's not a discredit to Sky Moore.
Guys, that was fun. We got plenty to talk about as the Super Bowl approaches, including a lot of prop bet discussion with FanDuel, FanDuel.com/locked-on. I want to thank Arif Hassan, Pro Football Network, Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings, Luke Inman, Locked On Sports Minnesota, myself, Sam Ekstrom. Subscribe, comment, help us get to 5,000 subscribers, our next big milestone. We appreciate you watching and listening to the Minnesota Football Party. We'll talk to you next time.